Hello Primary 6 and Primary 7, Mrs Allen here introducing your grammar for this week on the 25th of the 2nd, 21. This week we're going to be looking at subjects, objects and predicates. Learning intention for this week is that we are learning how to structure a sentence properly. By the end of it, your success criteria means that you will be able to identify the subject in the sentence, you will be able to identify the object of the sentence, and you will be able to identify the predicate in a sentence. For a sentence to be complete, it must have two things. One, a subject, and two, a predicate. How can you find the subject of a sentence? So the subject of a sentence is the naming part of a sentence. The subject of a sentence is a place, a person, or a thing. The subject of a sentence is a place, a person, or a thing. It is always doing or being something. When you are finding the subject, ask yourself who or what the sentence is about. For example, the carpet in the living room must be vacuumed. Who or what is this sentence about? In this instance, it's about the carpet. The verb vacuumed is pointing towards the carpet. Remember, a verb is a doing word. Therefore, carpet is the subject of the sentence. On her wedding day, Lexi trembled with excitement. Who or what is this sentence about? In this example, it's Lexi. This is another sentence introduced by a prepositional phrase, but the verb again shows trembled. So you can ask yourself who trembled and see that it was Lexi. The next example is the stars sparkled in the night sky. In this sentence, the verb sparkled is referring to the stars, so the stars are the subject. The predicate of a sentence is the telling part of a sentence. The predicate is a sentence tells what the subject does or is. The predicate can also be called the action part of the sentence. Predicates point toward the subject of the sentence too. It sounds like a role of a verb. After all, verbs indicate what the subject is doing or being. The close link between verbs and predicates is no mistake. In fact, predicates always contain a verb. However, they also contain a couple of other elements. Those elements may include the verb, a direct object, or any other clause or phrase. In short, a sentence has two parts, the subject and everything else. The everything else is known as the predicate. When you are finding the predicate, remember it tells something about the subject. For the example here, Patrick walked to his house. What is the subject doing? So Patrick is the subject and he is walking to his house. For this example, the store opened at 9. What is the subject doing? So the subject in this case is the store and it is opening at 9. For this example, the cake boss made a cake for our school. What is the predicate? The subject of this is the cake boss and what he is doing is making a cake for the school. The object of a sentence. We've mentioned objects a couple of times now. Each time we've directed them back toward the verb. So unlike a predicate, an object is not essential. It can, however, provide extra information and can further explain the verb in the sentence. Unlike predicates, like I said, it is not essential. They are helpful though because they further explain the action of the verb. The object of a sentence example here, Catherine walked her dog. The object in this sentence is the dog, and this expands the verb, walking. So now you're going to find out your task. Book 4 will be concentrating on subjects, verbs and objects. In your focus, you have to write out the sentence and underline what the subject is of each sentence. What is the object in each sentence is focus part B. For practice, you have to copy and finish the sentence by adding an interesting object to each one. In extension A, copy the sentences, make each one more interesting by adding an adjective in front of each object. And for extension B, write a sentence of your own using these pairs of subjects and objects. This task is labelled at mild. For your medium task, you will be working on book 5. You will be looking at subjects and predicates in this. For focus A, you have to write out the sentence and say what the subject is in each sentence. In focus B, you have to write out the sentence and say which part is the predicate in each sentence. For practice, join each subject with the correct predicate to make a sentence. For extension A, write an interesting subject for each predicate, and for extension B, write an interesting predicate for each subject. This next task is your spicy task. Again, you are looking at subjects and predicates. Focus A asks you what is the subject of each sentence. Focus B asks you what the predicate is in each sentence. Practice is to join each sentence with the correct predicate to make a sentence. An extension, add an interesting subject to each predicate. An extension B, add an interesting predicate to each subject. These tasks are levelled at mild, medium and spicy, and your teacher will assign them to you and will look forward to seeing the work that you input later.